Hey guys, Greg here at the Vinyl Rundown. Want to celebrate the 80th anniversary of BlueNote Records. Congratulations. BlueNote Records, probably the greatest, most iconic jazz label of all time. And I was going to just show you a couple of things to have to do with BlueNote. This is not greatest records of all time from BlueNote. This is a little different. Some sort of unknown stuff and maybe artists you're not that familiar with. Why is BlueNote so great? Well, that's a topic for a longer video. I was lucky enough to meet the president of BlueNote Records recently in Los Angeles. Kind of happened to run into him at a show, so I think I can show the photo I took here. And he was nice enough to pause while I screwed around with the camera. But Don was, who's done a great job bringing BlueNote back into the limelight. So 80 years of BlueNote. What's the oldest BlueNote record you have? So what kind of vinyl records were they making in the 30s and 40s? Well, the answer is they were not, because vinyl was not invented yet. So I do have one 78 RPM shellac record from the 78 RPM period of BlueNote. This is Art Hodes, Yellow Dog Blues, a song by W.C. Handy on one side, and Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin on the other side. So by today's standards, these would seem very dated and kind of old-fashioned, but it was the beginning of a great period in music history. The other thing to note is, when I say consistency, they've kept the iconic blue and white label for all these years. No other record label has done that. I mean, it's changed a little bit, but the basic black and white right angle hair thing, still recognizable today. I'm just going to go through a couple of artists that aren't as well known. I mean, everybody knows about John Coltrane and Art Blakey and that sort of stuff, but not as many people are familiar with Grachan Moncur. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Trombone player. There aren't that many trombone players as leaders. And this record, the compositions are really interesting. You got Lee Morgan on trumpet, Bobby Hutcherson on vibes, Jackie McLean on alto, Anthony Williams on drums. Really first-class people. Really interesting compositions and songs. Ornette Coleman. Ornette Coleman, the great free jazz avant-garde saxophone player. This is one of his later records. This is not necessarily one of his best or best-known records, but it is with the great Charlie Haden on bass and DiNardo Coleman on drums. Let me show you something interesting on the back here. Charlie Haden, the great bass player, just died recently, unfortunately, but look how young DiNardo is. So DiNardo is his son, and I guess when it's free jazz, anything goes. But first time I saw Ornette play in Los Angeles, his son was playing drums. I wasn't that impressed with his drumming. Maybe he's gotten better, but hey, if you're Ornette's son, you can pretty much do what you want. What else do we have? Another artist that's not that well known, Tina Brooks. Tina Brooks, tenor sax player. Tina is a male. Sounds like a female name, but it's actually a male. And I think Tina maybe didn't live that long, and that's why there's only a few records by him. But this one is with Freddie Hubbard and Duke Jordan on piano, Sam Jones. So this is actually a pretty desirable record. If you look for it online, it's going to go for a lot of money if it's an old one. This is a fairly brand new reissue. Then thought I would mention the new artists. There's lots of great new artists on BlueNote that maybe you haven't heard of. And the big one is Norah Jones. And somewhere I've got the CD, but I don't have it in front of me. I got to get that on LP. Norah Jones, who you may know as the daughter of the great Ravi Shankar, and won a bunch of Grammys as new artist when she burst onto the scene several years ago. And the audiophiles love her for the sound of her voice. But she's actually a very talented singer and songwriter, and close association with BlueNote Records. I mentioned Nels Cline recently on one of my videos. He is the great jazz guitar player, kind of experimental, kind of somewhat avant-garde sometimes, but not all the time. Actually, I should have mentioned that Nels Cline did a whole record that is a tribute to a BlueNote artist, piano player named Andrew Hill. So I will edit in information on that record. Andrew Hill did a great record, and Nels came in and did kind of a remake of that record several years later. So Nels Cline, actually, I should have mentioned, you may know him from the band Wilco, but he's always been a really great jazz guitar player here in LA. Another guy on Blue Note more recently, John Scofield, the great modern jazz guitar player John Scofield. This record is from the early 80s and originally came out on CD. One of my favorites when it came out with, let me guess, Jack DeJohnette, the great drummer, Charlie Haden again, Joe Lovano on sax. Really one of my favorite records of the modern Blue Note era. Oh, John Scofield, I was going to say, was known for playing with Miles Davis long ago and with Billy Cobham, but great composer, great jazz fusion guitar player. Another new record on Blue Note, last couple years anyway. Brian Blade is an amazing drummer with Blue Note, and this one is called Fellowship, and it's got, who's on it? Kurt Rosenwinkel, interesting guitar player I've seen, and other people I'm not that familiar with. Brian Blade is an amazing drummer, and I saw him play at the Wayne Shorter 80th birthday concert at the Hollywood Bowl recently. Something about his music, it's hard to explain, so go listen to it. I can't explain what's so great about his music. But the point I'm trying to make is there's lots of lesser known artists on Blue Note. They're continuing to generate great records under the leadership of Don Was today, and don't give up on the new stuff. Check it out. I know everybody loves to collect the old stuff, but Blue Note's still artistically at the top of their game, very relevant and great quality jazz. So happy 80th birthday again to Blue Note. Thanks for watching, guys.